Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. So today we're going to take a look at the 2023 Ford F150 Lightning. This is the Lariat. It's also finished off in iconic silver metallic, and we'll go over the MSRP once we go over all the specs and features and get this truck out on the road. So let's start off with what powers the all-new F-150 Lightning. This has the extended range, so it has the upgraded battery, which is a 131 kilowatt lithium-ion battery pack. Paired to the single-speed transmission, it pumps out 580 horsepower and 775 pound-feet of torque, sent through the all-wheel drive system, propelling this 6,000-pound truck from 0 to 60 in just under 4 seconds with a top speed of 111 miles an hour. It also has a total range of 320 miles and a wheelbase of 145 inches. Its overall length is 231.7. It has a width of 79.9 and a height of 77.2 inches. As we move our way to the exterior styling now for the Lightning, right off the bat you can tell this is much different than a traditional F-150 just based on the grille itself, with the LED bar going from headlight housing to headlight housing. So it is very distinctive. You can definitely tell them apart, where the grille is solid. So it has a nice design to it with the Ford badge right in the middle, a forward facing camera. All the parking sensors are in the body colored section of the bumper. This also has LED headlights, DRLs, and turn signals, and then that bar you can see again just ties it in very nicely. Now in the lower section you will see tow hooks along with the active grille shutters, which will open just to provide better cooling and aerodynamics for this vehicle. There's also a lower air dam, and then since this is fully electric, we do not have an engine up front, of course. You can use the button on the key fob, or there's a hidden button over on this right side, and if you push on that or use the key fob, this will automatically open up, providing you with storage space. So it is very awesome to see this amount of space that is available, especially for a pickup truck. This is basically like your trunk in a normal vehicle. Now over on this left side, if I flip this up, you will see a bunch of 3-prong outlets along with some auxiliaries. So you could have some items in here and charge them. There's also a cargo light that you can turn on and off. And there's a little bit of storage up underneath the floor. Currently, the charging cables are in here at the moment, which is a nice place for them. And you can actually flip this cover up. You can either lock it into place or completely flip it upside down, where now you have a ruler on the back side. This can also hold about 400 pounds, so you could put in some heavy items if you're using this for work purposes and you have some things to move. And there's a little bit of a compartment right in the middle. So it's pretty cool to see that flip up as well. And then there's some battery component access in the back section. Now up top, you can push on this button here, or you can use the key fob, and it automatically closes. Really a good use of space for this truck. Now as we work our way to the side, this has a set of 20-inch wheels. They're 8 inches wide. You can see they have a dark silver design to them, or finish to them. And of course this has the regenerative braking, being fully electric, which is nice to have. Now you'll notice the F-150 Lariat badge on this passenger side. The charging port is actually on the driver's side, so it's the same design, very nicely hidden away. This has a set of fixed running boards. It has the body colored side mirrors with the integrated turn signal, camera, and a spotlight, which you can turn on. There's some gloss black separating both of the windows there. It has a full panoramic roof, and we do have the shorter bed, very proportional design, nice lines running in the lower section as well. You will see a Lightning on the side of the bed there. And as we finish up in the rear, this has the same connector bar as up front, so it ties in nicely, with some spotlights right in the middle surrounding the backup camera. This has LED taillights, of course. F-150 is stamped into the tailgate, just like every other F-150. It's a little bit higher. This has a body-colored rear bumper with all the parking sensors, and this can even tow right around 7,700 pounds. Now as we move on to the bed space, you can use the button on the key fob or the button up underneath. Just by pushing on that, this will slowly lower down, which is nice. This has the spray-in bed liner, so it gives you that added protection for any items that you were going to place back here. There's several tie-down hooks On the driver's side, there's also some more outlets, just like you saw up front. There's even a 240 and a 120. So you have a lot of components that you could hook up to this truck. There's cargo lights too. And then this still retains the bed step. There's a ruler just in front of that, along with a cutout where you could place a tape measure, maybe some pens and pencils, anything that you have with you for the day. There's even the C-clamp channels, so that way you can secure any items to the tailgate that you may have, like wood or anything, to be able to cut it. And then for this bed step, just like every other F-150 or any Ford truck really, you can slide that out along with the grab handle, and now you have an easy way to enter and exit this truck. So if you're using this every day for work purposes or just in general, it makes it a lot easier than having to jump up and jump out of this bed. And then it's very easy to close up the step, and the tailgate is very lightweight, so that is easy to shut as well. As we work our way to the interior now, you can actually lock and unlock this using the door handles. So just by grabbing them, they will unlock, and then you can push on that small black button in order to lock it. Now the door panel for this model is very nice. It has a combination of leather as well as this trim running along the upper section. There's some wood trim, the Bang & Olufsen sound system, and then a split design for the storage. The release handle is also on the inside of the grab handle, so that is nicely tucked away. You really can't see it until you are ready to use it. And then for the interior, this has a nice two-tone design for these leather seats, and then there's a grab handle and that side step. So at 5'10", it is very easy to enter this truck. Now there's plenty of room for the floor area here, so I have plenty of room for my feet and my legs. There's storage pockets, 2 cup holders, a little bit of storage. These are even heated rear seats too. You have some air vents and then some auxiliaries where you can charge some electronics, which is nice. Now right in the middle, there is an armrest with 2 additional cup holders. This also has an electronic sliding rear glass that you can easily open and close as needed. And then as far as headroom goes, this is a full-size truck. I have about an inch or so above my head, so I am very comfortable. If you're a little taller than me, it might be a little bit crammed in the back, but it's a full-size truck. I could have 2 other people next to me and still have plenty of room. So that's what you would expect, of course. We have the full panoramic sunroof, and then there's even some hidden storage underneath these seats. So all I need to do is lift up the seat. It will actually lock into place. You can do that with both sides too. And you even have this storage divider that you can have up with the bottoms of the seats down. So you have an extra area where you can store some items. There's even some on the back section of that seat too. So you have plenty of hidden storage space, making it very usable for those back seats. Now for the front door panel, it's just like the rear. However, there's the addition of all the window controls, side mirror adjustments, which are power folding, and then the memory seating adjustments as well. A lot more storage space for the lower section of that door. And then for these automatic seats, same design as the rear, of course. They are heated and ventilated, and you can see some chrome trim surrounding those controls. And it is just as easy to hop up into the front seats. You can see that release handle right on the inside of the grab handle, which is a really nice touch to see. Now for the steering wheel, it's completely covered in solid leather. You'll notice on this left side, these are all the cruise and adaptive cruise control settings. This model does have the cruise, which is nice to see. There's volume and Bluetooth controls. On this right side, there's also tuning and some more Bluetooth controls, and all these are for the digital gauge cluster. So in order to fire this up, there is a start button on that right side, and just by pushing on that, you will see ready in the lower left, meaning that you are, of course, ready to drive from here. But looking at this gauge cluster, you will see on the left side, there's the range until empty, as well as some power meters. On the right side is your miles per hour. And currently right in the middle, you can see some trip information. I can scroll down, pull up the TPMS. You can also look at pitch and roll and the degrees for the steering wheel. There's the power distribution, which you can monitor if you'd like to. And then we also have My View. So if we go into My View right now, these are all configurable, of course, so you can choose what you would like to see, which is underneath them at the moment. So you can see trip information along with the truck info. I can go into towing, so you can monitor all of this as needed. And then we have navigation along with phone and audio when you have those on and running. And then some settings here that you can quickly go through. So there's not a ton of information, but it does give you everything that you need. And then as we work our way to the left side of the steering wheel, you will see there is a pedal adjustment. So you can bring those closer or farther away. There's also the electronic parking brake, some dimmer switches, all of the controls for the headlights. You can even turn on the cargo light, which is just above the glass in the rear. We have the tailgate, which you can open up, as well as the front storage area and the spotlights that I mentioned earlier. Now there's some more of that trim that you saw in the upper section of the door panel. And then as we work our way to the center infotainment system, this is a massive screen with a lot more to go through. So currently you can see audio right now. In the lower section, this is all fixed. There is a rotary dial for volume as well as power being right in the middle. And then in the lower section, we have shortcuts to the heated steering wheel, heated and ventilated seats, which is really easy to go through. Just by clicking on these, you can pull up the controls for the fan speed, which you can control with that, or you can use the plus and the minus, and then pushing on the arrow will make it disappear. There's the heated seat for your passenger, a few other AC controls where you'd like the air to go. You can simply just push on that and this diagram will pop up. We do have the dual zone, you have heat, you can have it driver focused, and then just by pushing on this, that will collapse. And then just above that, you will notice that we have a row here that you can swipe through to go through some of this info. You can go into the Apple CarPlay, go into your phone, go into your location just by swiping on that bar. And then for the upper section, you can change this just by clicking on anything down below. So if I click on connect for the phone, that will pop up. So if I did have a phone paired, you can go through that information. I can get back to the audio just by clicking on that. Now in the upper section, if I click on the F150 icon, you can go through the different driving modes. So you can see we have a few here. This also has the one pedal drive along with being able to lock the differential. I can quickly get into the camera system. So right now you can see that if I click on these here, now we have a few different angles that you can look at. There's also one for the bed space. We have one for the rear, even a hitch view as well. So it is nice to be able to have that amount of visibility. Now underneath that, we do have some access here. You can use that to get into the charging cord there. When you have that locked, you can easily take that off. We have the front storage area to access. There's also towing, so you can go through this info, as well as the smart hitch. This also has an onboard scale. So if you are curious about what you're hauling, you don't want to overload the bed, you can use that as needed. This even has zone lighting, so you can turn on all the headlights, taillights, even the mirrors on the cameras. So if you're using this at nighttime, you have a lot of ample light. Now we do have the Pro Power on board, so you can monitor all this information as well as charging, things like that. This truck has parallel parking, so you can use that as needed. And you can even use this truck as a generator. So as long as you have it charged, you can use this if you need to power other items. And then we have a valet mode. Now there's also various settings that we can go into just depending on how you would like to set up all of this general information. So you can go through this as needed. We can quickly exit out. And then by clicking on those icons, now we can pull up some other information. So if I want to pull up the navigation in place of where you saw the audio, I can quickly do that. You can also go to your Apple CarPlay, back to the media. You have some trip energy that you can go through too. So it's a very easy system to go through. I like the size of it. And then to the left of that, you will notice the Pro trailer system. So if you've never backed up before, you can use that as needed. There's the trailer braking system just underneath that. On the right side, there's a few more auxiliaries that you can use to charge electronics as needed. And then below the screen, we have the hazards as well as the parallel parking and traction control, which you can turn on and off. There is a little bit of storage below that with a wireless charging pad and some more auxiliaries. And then you can hide away all of those items with that wood trim cover. Now there's two cup holders on one side, a storage spot where you could place your phone, and then using the release in front of the shifter, if I put it into reverse, you will see that backup camera up here, of course. Drive is all the way to the back. And then if I put it back into park and push this button just in front of that, you will see the shifter fold down because we do have the workspace. Just by flipping the center console up, now we can put a computer here, any documents, you can eat lunch. You're using this every single day. It gives you a really nice spot. You do have to be in park in order to access that, or for it to be able to do that, of course. And then for the rest of the center armrest, plenty of storage space to put any items that you need to. And then over on the passenger side, there's actually 2 glove boxes. So there is a smaller one up top, and then the normal glove box down below where you can place additional items. Now, like I mentioned earlier, has a full panoramic sunroof. The sunshade is automatic, so that controls up in the middle, along with that rear sliding glass. This has a sunglass holder. There's the dome lights as well. As we set off now behind the wheel for this Ford F-150 Lightning, these have a starting MSRP right around $76,000. And of course, that will go up depending on the trim level that you go with. So we are in the Lariat version right now. It's going to be a little bit more expensive than that. So let's just call it 80 grand for today's video. 80 grand gets you a pretty nice truck. This is essentially an F-150 like every other F-150 platform, aside from the fact that we are in a fully electric vehicle. Now, this is only the second Lightning that I've been able to check out, and I've been driving this one for 4 or 5 days now, and I think it's really cool. It's very quiet to drive, obviously being an electric vehicle, but there's no wind noise, road noise. It's a really nice truck to drive, and I like all the technology features that this model has to offer. Now, for that 80 grand, you are getting an electric vehicle. And to me, I personally would rather have a gasoline F-150 versus the electric model, just because of the towing factor. You can tow a lot longer distances than you can in the electric vehicle. This has a pretty healthy towing capacity for it. I'm just unsure about the range that you can go if you're trying to tow that maximum weight. So that's just something that I'm on the fence about as far as electric vehicles go. But it is nice. I would drive it mainly around the city versus going on longer distances. But we do get the extended range, which is right around 320 miles. If you go with the smaller battery for the F-150 Lightning, that gives you about 230 miles. So it really just depends on what you're using your truck for, mainly around the city, or if you're going to be driving some longer distances, and of course what you want to spend for the truck. Now, one thing that I do want to touch on that I just found out, there's a button just behind drive. So if you push on that, it's actually a 30-minute timer to put this into neutral when you're not in the vehicle. That's what it says. It will pop up on the center screen there. I believe you do have to be in neutral in order for it to pop up, but it's interesting to see a timer to put this into neutral when you do have neutral right in the middle. I'm not exactly sure if that's maybe for towing issues, if you need to put this on a flatbed or something like that, or I'm not exactly sure what that would be for this electric vehicle. But it's interesting that it's there, and it times out after 30 minutes. So if you have any input on that, I haven't really seen anything about that button. But other than that, I really don't have any complaints with this. It's a pretty cool truck to drive. And as far as the power goes, you can't beat instant power and torque that electric vehicles have. And it's insane to see, especially for the weight of this truck. So here we go. Woohoo. Ooh, and we are up to speed. It is a quick truck. It doesn't feel fast because you don't hear anything, but it gets up and moves. So it's a different feeling than a combustion engine where you can hear the speed getting quicker. You can hear maybe the gear shifts if you're in a manual. This, you just get up and go. It's hard to convey how quickly it can get up and move because there's no noise. But for this roughly $80,000 truck, again, depending on the trim level and the battery range that you go with, it's a pretty nice truck. We have a lot of nice amenities and features, a lot of tech to go through. The Blue Cruise, I have found, only activates when you're on the highway, which would make sense because the highway is the straightest of where you would be driving versus some back roads, obviously, that have some turns. But the Blue Cruise actually pops up with the hands-free technology. So obviously you need to be paying attention, have your hands on the wheel, but it will help you with keeping the truck in the lane. It will do some of the curves out on the highway, but it will not activate especially on roads like I'm on right now. So it does have some kind of sensor to it to be able to differentiate where you are, of course. One thing that I will say about this truck, I own a Toyota Tacoma, which is of course a mid-size truck. This is a full-size truck. The steering in this doesn't feel like it could be as tight as it is. I've found myself having to maneuver a few more turns than my Tacoma, which is not a fair comparison because that's a smaller truck. But for the size of this truck, I feel like the turning should be a little bit better as far as maneuverability goes. So it's one kind of minor hiccup with it. It's interesting, especially going into parking spaces and things like that. But it is a bigger truck, so that's something to expect slightly with it. But other than that, it's got a lot of space to it. I love the storage up front. In my opinion, it's a good city vehicle. I went out of town while I had this truck, and I did not take it because of the range, but I also don't have the proper capabilities to tow this. I was out somewhere where there were no charging stations close by, which was a hindrance. So had I taken it, I had proper charging at home, I still didn't have enough range to make it convenient in order to charge this. So that's just something to consider with electric vehicles, is planning your trips accordingly with how you want to charge them. And if I did own this, it still would have been an inconvenience to find somewhere to charge it with the location that I was going. I wasn't in the city, very rural area where there are no charging stations available. So to me, this is more of a city vehicle. I've been driving it through the city the last couple days, and I think it is perfect for situations like that. If you have the proper hookups at home, it does make it more convenient. But that's all a personal preference, of course, with your taste on electric versus combustion engines. But I think that's going to wrap it up for this 2023 Ford F-150 Lightning. Hope you enjoyed today's full review. Give it a huge thumbs up if you did, and consider smashing that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our daily uploads. I will see you all in the next video.